Gotta remember. Oh, I'm so sorry. Yeah,
I was like,
wait.
This is actually, I think my notes corrected and I.
I am so sorry.
Yeah.
I did not take the time to go to the budget line by line and see. if it's
Nothing.
the Same.
Yeah,
Hopefully that.
there were some changes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Are we on?
Yeah.
We're on? Okay. All right, I'd like to call the special meeting of the Hancock Town Council to order. Debbie, could you do the roll, please? Oh, okay, we're waiting on getting the Zoom going here. Yep.
Our video is off, Deb. What'd you say? I'm sorry. Our video is off. Oh.
Nope. There we are. Okay, we all set?
Yeah.
Roll call.
Councilmember Biggie. Present.
Councilmember Grubb. Councilmember Holden.
Present.
Councilmember Knopf.
Here.
Councilmember Pettit.
Here.
Councilmember Quigley.
Here.
And Mayor Foskey.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we have two public hearings tonight and one discussion and public comment. So we will start off on the public hearing on the tax levy. So I'm going to open the public hearing for the tax levy, and Wes, could you explain what we're doing with this?
Sure, so this tax levy is an increase to 20 cents as we have proposed it. So the value of homes that was reassessed was raised to 24%, but we are looking to just balance the budget and keep the revenues the same as last year. And in order to do that, we would need to increase the levy by 19 cents, but we have proposed 20 cents if the council would like to do so.
You're not talking about, you're not increasing you're making it 19, not increasing it 19.
Increasing it to, not by.
Yeah, right. Okay, right. Okay. All right. Do we have the sign up sheet for the thing? And no one, does anyone want to speak about the tax levy? I guess they're sort of interrelated to the budget as well. Okay, I'm going to close the public hearing on the tax levy. Okay, I'm going to now open the public hearing for the proposed 2027 budget. Wes, we've been talking about this quite a while, so I think we're pretty familiar with it, but is there anything, any comments? There's no change from the budget as proposed earlier.
Switch, Debbie?
So this is the first one, regular public comment.
One small change that we found today is that on page 3, under the Virginia comp for the arts, and instead of 9,000, that should be 4,500. And then on page 4 for the expenditures under cultural enrichment, that should be 9,000 instead of 42 11.
Okay.
So, yeah, so we just had a typo there. We had to change.
So that's a match from us. We match what they send us, right? Right. So,
Yeah.
okay.
Could you give me that number again for cultural enrichment?
Yeah, so that should be 9,000.
I have a-
So,
Sorry.
on that, if we're receiving 4,500 and spending 9,000, does that mean that we're matching that with 4,500 of our own from elsewhere?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay,
No question.
uh,
May I ask
was
a
it-
question?
sure, yeah, you're not the public. It's okay. Yeah, all right, go ahead.
On the capital improvement plan,
Mhm.
my understanding was the extra revenue was to go into that. Has that been changed? Is this a different document than the last one?
No.
This
So-
is still at 19 cents. If you vote for the 20 cents,
Then it'll
then
change.
we'll
Gotcha.
update it.
Thank you. Thanks.
Okay, we don't vote until next meeting, correct? This is a public hearing, correct? Yeah. All right, Greg Temple?
Good evening. I'm Greg Temple. My wife and I live at here on Market Street, and we lived there for 13 years. I just had a comment about a line item on the budget. And it has to do with, I believe that the town should cease spraying for mosquitoes, and that any money in the budget should be appropriated for any public education program on alternative methods. And Councilwoman Quigley has provided you with a scientifically based way to assess our actual mosquito problem and come up with a targeted solution. And if you follow all the best management practices, you realize that what we've been doing probably isn't effective and probably causes more problems than it solves. So the current best management practices for mosquito abatement were presented, again, thanks to Ann, through the cooperative extension. And I believe the town should adopt those processes going forward. I mean, to me, it's kind of a twofer. You get to save money and you do the process right and get back to, if we're going to spray for mosquitoes, let's do it the right way and follow the process. So, and you save money to boot. So thank you.
Thank you. I don't normally reply, but this is a small group. That's a kind of a placeholder for education and for everything. We just kept the amount in there. I don't think it's not, that's my understanding that we just kept the amount to used for education, possibly if we buy, to do testing.
Yeah,
There could be
exactly.
costs for that. So I
Yeah,
don't think.
except I think that there may have been some discussion about hiring someone to spray because you didn't have anyone certified.
Well,
But I have no idea.
yeah, I don't think
if
we've
that's
gotten,
what you were
we haven't
planning.
gotten there yet. We're still waiting. We need to sample and figure out where we are, but,
Yeah, well,
okay.
that was the plan. But that was the only reason I said, because I thought there was discussion
yes.
that you wanted to go out and contract with someone in lieu of having anyone who was already certified.
Oh, I don't
But
think,
I
that
don't-
really- no.
I have no idea whether that was your plans or not, but
Yeah. Okay, thank you for, yeah.
thank you.
Joseph Cuba? Joe?
Hi, I'm Joseph Cuba. I'm here representing the Only Recreation Association, which is a 501c7 social club, and the Skimmers swim team, which is also we do lifeguard training and lessons, basically anything that's like for the benefit of the community and youth and stuff like that. And I think I covered everything last time. So it was again just following up on basically looking into if town wanted to give a donation to, we could make it to the 501c3, and then as a side benefit for the town of Hancock citizens, then they would get half off ORA memberships, which includes the pool, tennis courts, pickleball. And I leave remaining time for any questions from you since I.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Jim McGowan?
Evening. I just wanted to mention, and this really has more to do with the crosswalk issue, but since it's the budget right now, I didn't see anything in here for the crosswalks. And I mentioned last time, if you're going to apply for a grant, please at least have a contingency plan for the budget so you can pay for the matching funds. It's really, these grants are a lot of work for staff. They're a lot of work for the agency, in this case, VDOT. And if you turn it down, they're not going to look as favorably in the future. So I just wanted to mention that in the context of the budget. Thank you.
Casey Greer?
Basically, I support what Greg and what Jim just said. And I am concerned that the crosswalks issue is that the town has not considered making sure that there was funding available in the upcoming budget. The other thing that I wanted to mention, and this would wind up being a new line item or a small one, is before I've talked about the issue of the town's poor records management. And I feel really strongly that you need an outside consultant to come in, perhaps from the Virginia State Library, where they will work with municipalities, not necessarily for free, but they will come in and work with municipalities on developing records management programs. Now I'm going to just for 1 second put on my planning commission hat. The problem of collecting data is driving us all nuts because there is such poor data management in the town. And it's not just Onancock. I'm sure it's every small town up and down the shore. But for us to do a good job in developing, we're figuring out ways around things to get information. But as you think about strategic planning in the future for the town, you really do want to have a records management policy and have gone through your existing records, including digital records, and make sure that you've got.
Hi, my name is Tom Pro, and I'm going to eat my diarrhea for you.
It's a serious problem, and it affects our planning, including planning for things like water and other matters as well. What the heck?
Qui brutale.
Okay. Thank you very much. Boing.
Okay, thank you. Rosemary?
Yeah.
Hi, this is not with respect to this particular budget, but I just think in general, in terms, in the interest of transparency, that it would be good for the town and for everybody in the town if there were breakdowns, and it's easy to do sub-accounts for the monies that the town either pays directly for services to things like, what do I have down here? The blacksmith shop, the school, the welcome center. If it gives monies or grants to them, if it's paying for any insurance, water and sewer, utilities, ordinary repairs, capital expenses, because people really don't know. If you come to the meetings, they'll, the council will say, well, we're, doing a matching fund to Main Street for whatever. But if you haven't come to that meeting, you don't know about that. And That's what people do need to know, and that's what they pay attention to. So I think that that's really very important. And I think that going forward, it should be something that the town adapts as just regular course business. I mean, it's done all over the place. It can be done here as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments about the budget? Okay, I'm going to close the public hearing on the budget. All right. Any comments from council about what we've heard about we're going to vote on the budget at the June meeting. Anybody want to add anything to it? Okay.
Just one observation, Debbie and I were talking today, and somehow a second copy of the wharf page made it into the document. So pages 10 and 11 are the same, and we should only pay attention to one of them.
Okay. Any other comments about the budget? We're going to vote next week, next month, this month, in 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
2 weeks. Yeah. I'll be right back here in 2 weeks. Yeah. All right. Okay. Last item is the crosswalks. Wes?
So council must determine whether the benefits of the proposed transportation alternatives program, TAP crosswalk, a pedestrian safety project justifies the required local financial commitment and long-term project obligations. Staff recommends that council consider the opportunities and risks outlined below before acting on the attached commitment resolution. So the town of Onancock previously applied for.
Hey guys,
funding through
guys,
VDOT's
guys, can you
Transportation
listen?
Alternatives program to improve pedestrian.
What do you
safety
think
and
of
accessibility
Negroes?
within
Are they
the town.
dangerous to our health as a
The
community?
application was prepared and submitted by the town's previous administration and was selected through a competitive statewide grant process. The project consists of 8 high visibility pedestrian crosswalks and associated ADA compliant pedestrian improvements applications throughout town. According to the application, the project is intended to improve pedestrian safety, enhance accessibility, encourage walkability, support downtown businesses and tourism, and provide traffic calming benefits. VDOT has advised that the project has been selected for funding and is eligible to move forward. Before a project agreement can be executed, the town must adopt a commitment resolution confirming its willingness to participate and provide the required local funding match. So the total project cost would be just over $2 million. The VDOT funding would be 1.65 million, and then the 20% local match by the town would be 412,000. And I think it's important to note that while often described as a crosswalk project, the proposed work includes substantially more than pavement markings and signage. So during recent discussions with VDOT staff, town representatives were advised that the current estimate was intentionally developed using conservative assumptions and statewide average costs. The actual cost will be refined as the project moves along. And so in terms of the local match timeline, the first match would be on August 6th of this year. It would be $117,000 for the design phase. The second match would be at the end of 2028, and that would be for the right-of-way phase, and that's approximately $74,000. And then the final one would be the construction phase, which would start at the beginning of 2032, and that would be for $220,000. In terms of the project schedule, the design is expected to start this year. The right-of-way activities would be in 2028, and then the construction would be in 2032. So the potential benefits of this are that we would secure approximately $1.65 million in outside funding. So this essentially leverages $4 of state and federal funding for every dollar that the town invests, and it improves pedestrian safety and accessibility. The potential risk, of course, are that it requires over $400,000 in town funding over the life of the project. The future cost could be higher than what the current estimate is, because the lifetime of the project is over 6 years, so the cost of construction and the actual materials could be up. And also the construction is not anticipated for several years, so there would be a visible project benefit in the short term. So really the two options that council has before it today are to approve the commitment resolution and to proceed with the project, or to decline and forego the $1.65 million in funding. So at this time, staff doesn't have a recommendation. It really is a policy consideration for council and what you would like to prioritize.
Wes and I had a Zoom conversation with two people from VDOT, two nice gentlemen, to try to explain the project. A couple of things came apparent. One is that there's very little design has been done on the project. It was just, we just identified the crosswalks. So the design phase is going to determine how much work needs to be done. I asked him several times, about utilities and why we're moving utilities, and he really couldn't he thought maybe that if that didn't happen, the project would be cheaper. There was also right-of-way acquisition. I didn't really know what right-of-way they were. I thought they already owned the sidewalks. So
Right.
there was some question about if they would even need right-of-way. Those numbers would go down too. So,
Didn't know.
and when we applied for the grant, we didn't have any idea that I don't think anybody thought it would be this kind of money. Back last year, I think we were talking about, so we would probably been, if it had been, $500,000 project and ours would have been 20%, we could have easily covered that in the budget. This is a totally different ballgame. He made, I think you have to agree with me, but I think he did make 2 points that if we turn it down, we can turn it down. I don't think I'm not sure there'd be repercussions for further grant applications because they do it on a point basis. The other thing he said, if you modify it, you're going to have to go back in to apply again, basically. So I don't think we can modify it. I think he kind of said that. It's we either take it or we leave it. That was my impression. Is that your impression?
Yeah.
There are a lot of unanswered questions, but they haven't even designed it. And we are going to be involved in the design a lot. They're going to talk to us a lot. So we can, and there's a possibility you could, design it so that it wouldn't be quite so expensive,
Maybe.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
So, and if the design, if it just spirals out of control, if after we spent the design money, he said you could bail on it then. Some towns have done that, but I wouldn't recommend that. Yeah, right. So that was my gist of the conversation. So it's up to council. We're going to hear some public comment. Does anybody want to make comments? Yeah. Omar, with the start over here. Okay.
I have a couple of questions. Wes, on your point about, I thought I recalled from the comments that Bill Porter made the last time we talked about this, that there was a bit of inflation included in the projection, so that while
Yes.
the cost could go up,
Yes.
They could also go down.
some of that was built into the cost already,
Correct. Yeah.
right? It just might not be entirely on point.
Right.
Okay. And was it your sense when you all talked to him that a modification, so we said 8, would moving the location, say, of one of them be considered a modification since there really hasn't been any design work?
I think that would be fine. I think if we reduce the scope, then that's a different story. So if we went from 8 down to 3, I think that might be risky. But I think if we move the crosswalks and change that, I don't think that would be a big deal. I'm not sure.
I think we were given the grant based on the 8 because that was more of impact. So if you cut it down to 3, that's not the same impact. We might not even gotten the grant.
Right.
But I think if you design it, and then if there's one that needs a little tweaking, it's a lot of unanswered questions.
Right.
I think that's doable because it hasn't even been designed yet.
Right.
So we're going to have a lot of input into the design.
Okay.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
And just two other things. I don't know if anybody else has curled up with the technical specifications for ADA compliance, but that's a large part of the cost from my understanding, because it's probably almost 200 pages of tech specs of, the slope and the grade and our existing curb cuts are not compliant with current requirements. So
Correct.
if you walk around town and you see curb cuts and you say, well, we don't need curb cuts, we actually do to come into compliance, very detailed, the length, every dimension you can imagine. And so there's just a lot more to that. even taking that into account, it's a lot of money, no question, but it is more involved than I think any of us know. And I can't recall my last point, but process-wise, if we are we voting on supporting this today, and then you'll come back with how does this tie in with when we approve with vote? So we're not voting on anything. Okay.
We'll vote on the next meeting, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Just wanted to make sure. Thank you.
Yes.
Lisa?
My biggest concern is the cost. And I also think it's a large concentration in one part of the town. And I really have a hard time with that over other projects that have been in the works for years. And it's not that I'm against a sidewalk, but like Cindy had mentioned last time, we haven't had an issue in 23 years. Are we solving a problem we don't have? But I'm also open to hearing feedback. I've heard some really good feedback from people who are like young mothers and saying crosswalk would be really helpful, especially coming off of King Street back on the north. So I understand the need for it. It's the number and the small amount of a small area and the cost behind it is my concern.
In my discussions with citizens around town and asking them, for their feedback on what they thought, and these are people that don't normally come to the town council meetings. Most of them felt that we didn't need crosswalks, that we were fine without them. There were a few who said maybe a small number, but not 8. And to a person, they were all appalled by the thought of spending this much money on crosswalks. As Lisa said, the chief has told us in 23 years, we have not had any particular problems with people crossing the roads. One person walked into a car and was not hurt. That's in 23 years. So I just feel like it isn't a problem and that we have other priorities that we need to get done that were actually in the capital improvement plan. I can't tell you why it wasn't put in there. I'm guessing none of the council picked up on the fact that there'd been nothing put, but also we had no dollars to put into it. We had no idea what it would cost, which makes it difficult to project. But I guess I just have to question the value for the money.
Sarah?
I'm torn. I understand the value of crosswalks. I also do question the concentration along North Street. If there is flexibility to relocate one or more, I think a really good candidate location for pulling one of these would be across Hill Street at Market by the Corner Mart. So there's one across Market Street, but there's not one to get you across the other direction. I think that one, if we pursue it, I think we need to say, we don't know where this list came from. We would like the opportunity to give input on an alternate location for at least that. And the one that I'm thinking of most of pulling is the one across north at Carr, the northernmost one in the current plan, and switch that to across Hill at Market. But yeah, it's a crazy amount of money. We had no, or at least I personally, I won't speak for anybody else, had no idea that the amount of money would be anywhere near this ballpark when we rerouted from the earlier plan of connecting the sidewalk at King Street to the sidewalk at Market around the wharf. And that came in with an impossible price tag. And we said, well, let's not do that. Let's do crosswalks instead, because surely that's going to be a more reasonable number, and here we are. So I'm torn.
Ashley?
I would have to say that I share in the council's feeling towards the crosswalks. Obviously, like you said, this was something that had come up or has come up in the past. No one had any idea. I don't think anyone on the council had any idea this was going to be such an exorbitant amount of money. I think that we just recently got these figures. So I know it's been on the news. Looking at that, a lot of people in the town have already expressed their interest or disinterest in having them. Obviously, like everyone has said, I mean, everybody knows the benefit of them, how important they are. But to be in a situation where we're sort of locked into having to do 8 of them, and also being in a negative situation where if there's changes or revisions, too many of them, that we might, not be able to go forward with this project, or the possibility of not being able to, I guess, score highly or be in their favor for additional projects in the future. That is somewhat concerning. But I don't know. At this point right now, that doesn't seem to be enough information for me to be able to go forward without further reservation.
Omar?
Well, some of my questions were answered because like when you first finished saying it, I mean, I jumped, like I wanted to say something immediately, but the first thing I was wondering was, how many, maybe I was missing something on why it was such a big amount. I was wondering how many crosswalks were we planning? I think, unless I missed something before, I think the first time that I really heard the crosswalks being talked about was for the boat, the 250, what do you call it? When there's going to be a lot of people here, which I understand because, the kids are going to be running and people are not going to be looking and oohing and ahhing, what have you, whatnot. I understand the crosswalks for that because there's going to be a lot of people here that are not from here and have not actually just walked the streets. But for that kind of money, I don't know. I don't know if I was missing what it actually took to make a crosswalk. I don't think we need 8. I just to be just that amount of money for crosswalks to me was just that just doesn't seem like it's in my mind a good thing. And especially for that many crosswalks. I mean, I understand down around this area where people are going to be milling and moving and looking and, I understand that, but I think we need to, like I said, cut down on some of the crosswalks. Definitely don't need 8. And like I said, I think we need to just reevaluate this totally.
Okay, Wes, if we went forward with this, how do we get the 112 we owe them and 917 for next fiscal year?
Yes, so that's a very good question. And as of right now, the only funding sources that we can see would just be from idle cash or to scrap some of the CIP projects for the 2027 fiscal year. So the Queen Street engineering and design, the comprehensive water study, the first responder truck would all need to be scrapped. And as of right now, I think those are really the only ways to fund it.
So
Did a preliminary search of the budget.
so if we just stroked the check for 117 out of our reserves, we would not have enough reserves to do that?
No, I mean, we can still do the projects. I'm saying it's either through the reserves or through scrapping the other CIP projects.
If we did all kept the CIP projects and did this additional 117, would we be below what we're required to keep in our reserves?
No.
Okay, so we have enough reserve. Okay, that was my question.
But I got
Okay.
one more thing.
Okay, go ahead, Omar.
One more thing. So let me get this straight. From looking at this, it was based on 8 crosswalks. Yes?
Yes.
And it would take 7 years?
Well,
to put in-
that's the Ready Get So, that's how their program works. You go, it's 5 years.
Really?
Yes, that's the state program.
So it's a lot more than just somebody saying, yeah, put the lines here and.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Oh, I mean,
And they do it 5 years in advance. So, you start
7
5.
years?
Well, it's probably 5 years, I think, but yeah, whatever it is. Yeah. And that's just the way it's their special program that they do this cost sharing thing with them. Yeah. Okay.
Wes, can I ask a question? If, let's say we took it out of ready cash for this coming fiscal year, of course, we've just barely tiny improvement in our monies flowing into capital improvement plan. What would it take in tax revenue to fund this for the rest of the time to do it? I mean, I know that's a guess based on the assessments and all that stuff, but to me, we would be looking at drastic tax increases
Correct.
to
Yes.
fund this.
Yeah, so Debbie, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe every cent raised, so that would go up is another 23,000.
Yeah.
So probably about 20 times increase on that.
20
So-
cent
A
increase.
20-cent
Sorry, yeah.
increase over the rate to maintain our current level of functioning,
Yes.
plus whatever else came up.
Well, not every year. Yeah, right, yeah,
Right.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, just a 4 cent increase for the first 117
Right.
and then you'd have to go up the next, whenever yeah, right.
Depending on when it hit as the
Well,
payments.
Well, yeah, right, but it wouldn't be 20 cents increase for the
But
next
it
5 years.
wouldn't necessarily be routine small amounts. It would be the amount needed to make that next payment.
Exactly, yes, right,
Correct.
yeah.
That's scary.
All right, all right, let's take public comment here. Anybody on public comment on this? Mark?
Good evening, Mark Sinclair, Greenway Circle, and yes, it's still just outside of town. Regarding the crosswalk proposal, I listened to Jim McGowan at the last meeting. I felt his frustration, and I respect his opinion and value his work for the county. My only issue, like you all said, is the cost. $2 million for 8 crosswalks or $250,000 a pop is a lot of money. Wasn't that the amount of money that the county had to pay to put the traffic circle in, like, I don't know, 6 years ago? It just seems very excessive. I would ask, how does the town justify this? I'm sorry, let me get back to another point. You had indicated, and Councilor Quigley, and I appreciated your comments, that we need wider sidewalks or wider curb cuts. Well, I would ask, aren't we working off the plan that they gave us? And why do we need wider curb cuts now when we're working off the plan that they gave us, what, 6 years ago, 7 years ago? What changed? I'm thinking we should be able to use what we already have. I would ask how the town justifies this cost. The U.S. Department of Transportation says to study the number of incidents currently occurring. Have we done that? Has anybody been killed? Has anybody been hit? Has anybody been brushed back? Most times, the federal government says you can't actually measure the effect of crosswalks alone because of other mitigating factors are involved, such as warning lights, signage, beacons, curb extensions, and my personal favorite, refuge islands. Are we including any of them in this project? International research shows that unsupported 2-lane crosswalks can reduce pedestrian accidents by a total of 8%. But 8% of nothing is still nothing. Drivers at unsupported crosswalks only yield 33% of the time. 33% of the time. Isn't that a scary thought? That leads to a false sense of security on the part of the pedestrians. Everything I cite here is in the United States Department of Transportation, Federal Highway Administration Crosswalk Marking Selection Guide. That's a long title. Section 5, 10 easy pages to read. It even includes charts, pictures, and graphs. That said, I still support crosswalks. I'd like to point out that you already have federally approved two-line basic configuration crosswalks from North Street all the way to the Corner Mart side of Hill Street on both sides of Market Street. Let's start by repainting and improving those. I'd even recommend a general repainting of all the town street markings, all the lines, all the markings. I think that it would make a nice, fresh appearance to the town. I'd even accept spending $100,000 on that. Closing thought for tonight. The good people of Anancock have been jaywalking since God created the dirt under their feet. They will continue to jaywalk until God puts them under that very same dirt. As will all of you, and as will I. Thank you for listening.
Thank you for your comments. Any other comments? Rosemary?
If council does decide to proceed with the crosswalks, I would say that the crosswalk on Hill Street is very important because people are trying to cross there all the time. And a lot of people just come to a rolling stop at best. And often there are young people there and older people. The other thing that I would say is that I know that the emphasis is on the B1 district, but on the B2 district, there were a lot of people who use the laundromat and the deli. And those people, when they're crossing Market Street, they really have nothing to protect them. There definitely should be, if you decide to go ahead, a crosswalk there. Because crossing Market Street at that point, I mean, you know, you're lucky if people are only going 35. And especially when some of those big trucks come, they're just sort of rumbling along. So, thank you.
Any other comments about crosswalks? Jim?
Hello, Jim McGowan, 29 King Street. I appreciate everyone's comments tonight. It's a tough issue. I ran the numbers at the last meeting and I'll do it again tonight. The cost over 7 years comes to $59,000 per year. Divided by 52, that comes, or it's 59,000 per year, divided by 1,000 people, $59 per person. Divided by 52, that's $1.13 per person per week over 7 years. The cost for a tax increase to pay for that over that time, the $23,000 a year that was for the 1 penny would be 2.56 cent tax increase. This is a tough one. You know, Mark referenced my frustrations from last month. I think that the thing to keep in mind is the downtown. We have a downtown that is really struggling. These types of crosswalks show an investment in the town. It's a dress for success thing. We're investing in facades. We're investing in a lot of street signs, lights, etc. This is another thing when people come into town, they say, "Oh, this town cares about us." And we feel good here. Something's happening in this town. It may be best this year to back off and reapply. I agree with Rosemary about Hill Street and Market Street. I was coming down Market the other day. One of the OBS employees was going from the Corner Mart back to the store. I stopped for her, but she was dashing across the street, and that's a problem. And, Mark mentioned the parallel streets. Every one of them has a 2 white line crosswalk. I'm willing to go out and paint. Let's adopt a crosswalk. We just have to make sure we're legally closing the road. That paint dries fast. I did a handicap spot for a TNC project I managed. It's fun to do. If we can get out and just do it, that would be fun. Did anyone look into what Accomack said about VDOT repainting crosswalks in Accomack?
I looked at their crosswalks. They didn't look like they'd been particularly newly painted to me.
Well, I think
wrote
he
them
said
in
they
there.
were going to paint some.
Oh, okay.
The
Yeah,
woman who said,
I wrote around and there were no
who
new
has the business,
crosswalks.
well, she said they are going to paint some
Oh,
in
okay, yeah,
Accomack.
yeah. Well, I mean, that's up to, yeah, I think.
But I think, I think in the long run, we really need this. We don't have to wait for the first person to get injured before we take it seriously, and it's going to happen sooner or later. That doesn't mean everyone car is going to stop, but if there's enough of them in the downtown area and up in the B2 district by the Corner Mart, people will start to learn what they're supposed to do. I've been in places where I don't even go near the curb because people jam on their brakes and stop for you. This happened in Seattle when I was out there a few years ago. And I hate slowing down drivers because of that. And I typically will walk behind, if someone's coming up to a stop sign, I'll walk behind them. But I would just encourage you to keep, here's the man. The man who walks, right? Yeah. So I think it's a learned response. They've got them in Williamsburg, that they're very effective with all the pedestrian traffic going through there. So maybe the best thing is to, if you don't think we can afford it now, retrench a little bit. We don't need the one at Kerr Street. That doesn't make any sense whatsoever. And then reapply and try to get some better answers from VDOT. We don't have a picture of what is an enhanced crosswalk? What does it look like? Why is it so expensive? Why all the little curb cuts they've done over the years, why aren't they adequate? Is it just people assuming we don't have any curb cuts in town?
They haven't designed it. They told me that. They haven't designed it. They just
I know. Well, and it might be worth starting just to do the engineering to get those questions answered. But it's very frustrating that there's all this money out there that can be had, but there's such a big question mark. And the other thing to remember is we've already paid this tax money, not to the town, but to the state and the federal government. This is a way of bringing back that tax money. I know it's very expensive, but for $1, we get $4 more on a project like this.
So thank you.
Thank
For
you.
your comments. All righty. Casey? Everybody.
Again, Jim does such a beautiful job of explaining the benefits of going ahead with a project like this. And what I'd like to say is that this is also part of, I think one way to think about it is part of a larger view towards traffic calming, moving to a more pedestrian friendly town with more sidewalks, with bicycle paths. I think that one of the things about making this a great place to live then makes it a great place to visit, right? And that making it a true walking town would go a good way towards making it a great place to live.
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay, thank you very much. All righty. So we were going to think about this, and then we'll come back at the next meeting. We have to let them know by July 1st. Okay, so think about it, and then we can get back to that. All right. Okay, let me look at my agenda. All right. Town councilman comments. Does anybody have any comments? Ann?
It came back to me, the other thing I was going to mention. So on the crosswalks, I think it's the timing of this is unfortunate, right? With the town manager transition, and we're not necessarily as fluent in the history, but so this kind of seems like a surprise, but in reality, this has been in the works for years. And if you were to go back and read our 2021 comprehensive plan, which I can't speak to the details of how that was done, but I believe they did some focus groups and solicited input. And there were a number of comments, if you look at that plan, about crosswalks being a need. And I believe the Planning Commission at that time recommended that the town adopt a transportation plan of which crosswalks would have been a part. And so even though we've all got sticker shock, I think, no question. But the fact of the matter is that this is a topic that has been coming up for years. In, October, I think, of 2023, in this very room, there was a town manager report about applying for the preliminary grant, We talked in this room in April 2024 about having gotten that preliminary grant, and then last August. And so, it's been sporadic and certainly not the, most glamorous thing to talk about, but there have been periodic discussions throughout, and I certainly appreciate everybody's comments. We often in this room talk about Hill Studios, and Hill Studios made recommendations about crosswalks, and their diagram, as I recall, wasn't the greatest, but I think 7 of the 8 that is in the current proposal, I think 7 of those were actually also in the Hill Studios plan. I don't know if that influenced the current grant submission or not, but it is certainly a factor. They're not going to get any cheaper, and we have to, imagine a little bit what's the town going to be like 10 years from now when, our children and their children, and hopefully a lot more people are here and more businesses downtown. So I think we do need to exercise a little imagination about what the Onancock of the future that we envision, that OMS is working toward, that the Economic Development Authority wants to work toward. I think that's something to think about. But certainly they're expensive and it's a big decision. And I think everyone's thoughtful comments are really terrific. Couple other things. Thanks for the comments on the mosquitoes. I thought our education session went very well. I just want to let you know we're forging ahead with that, and it's kind of an incremental, just-in-time sort of thing. I wish we were where we are now 6 months ago, but we are where we are. We've spec'd out the traps and different things, and so as we progress with those details, we'll certainly share those with you. Rosemary's point, correct me, Rosemary, if I got this wrong, this notion of communication, I think we talk about that a lot. I personally, in the coming year, and with working with Wes and hopefully a communication resource, would like to see us clearly articulate some strategic objectives and align our budget categories to those strategic objectives so that we can, as we spend money, we can report out. And I mean, for people that want to sit down with these spreadsheets, I think that's awesome. But I think in addition to, not instead of, but in addition to, we could communicate perhaps in a more meaningful way so that we say, here's how we're spending money against these projects, which align against these strategic priorities. I think it would certainly make it more understandable to me and hopefully to some folks in the public. And last, I want to mention our weekend is here starting Thursday. Onancock will be sailing forward, and everybody has been working really hard. And so Debbie especially, and Lisa and everybody on the committee. And Thursday evening, have you seen the benches down at the water? Aren't they nice? So as part of the weekend, Thursday evening, we're going to have a formal welcome of the ship, combined with a kickoff of Onancock Sails Forward, combined with a dedication of the benches in honor of the event. So 4:45 Thursday, the wharf is the place to be. I hope we will see you all there and at all the other various events we have going on. It's going to be a terrific weekend. Something for everybody.
Real quick, I know one of the boats traveling to Portsmouth for the tall ships is already in the harbor, and the other, both of them are here. I did see the local post something about their crew going up there, so I thought that was so if you get a chance tonight, swing by the wharf, because these are 2 of the tall ships that are heading to the Portsmouth venue, and they're docked here tonight. How cool is that? So definitely get a chance to check that out.
In one of our planning commissions meetings, Jim McGowan said something that really struck me. He said that comprehensive plans are meant to be aspirational. And I think perhaps in 91, maybe we were aspiring a little too high. I don't know. I wasn't part of that planning session. I like Jim's idea of deferring, basically not taking this one and reapplying on the next round, hopefully with more information and a more reasonable number of crosswalks, making the alterations that we didn't have a chance to be able to make this time, hopefully including it in the capital improvement plan so that we have some idea of cost before we have to obligate ourselves. And just one final observation, I happened to drive through Cape Charles recently. There are no crosswalks in Cape Charles. Just FYI, that means I didn't survey Chincoteague, but we would definitely be on the forefront of crosswalks if we went with this.
Crosswalk capital of the Eastern Shore. Walks.
Really good.
I can't top that, Cindy.
Ashley,
No, I don't have.
Omar,
Anne has summed it all up for me, please, as well. Thank you, Anne.
all right, motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second, all in favor?
Bye.
All right, see you in 2 weeks.